Hi, friends. I am so excited to welcome you to Productive Joy. This is something that I have been thinking about for a long time. I have been an avid podcast listener for, years. And yet I didn't know how to launch my own podcast. And here I am. So I've decided that this is something I want to do, but it'll only work if you go on this journey with me. So, why in the world would you want to listen to Productive Joy? Well, I have a couple different reasons, but let me begin at the beginning. My name's Christy. I have been an educator really my whole entire life, but for the last 24 years, I've done so professionally. I started out teaching high school kids and then quickly transitioned to teaching adults. And for the bulk of my career, I have been teaching educators to be better teachers so that the students have options when they graduate. Fast forward to the last couple years, and I realized that everything that I was doing with teachers and educators of all kinds would actually work in the business space. So I transitioned, and now I teach mortgage brokers and healthcare workers and doctors and lawyers and all different types of people how to make others understand what you had to say. So I have a formula that works really well, and I wrote a couple books about it. But the reason that you might want to spend some time in this podcast is because it's going to bring you joy. See, our brains only fire neurons when there is some sort of emotion tied to what we're doing. So if you're not releasing some sort of emotion in your conversations, in your presentations, then guess what? People aren't remembering what you said. So wouldn't it be great if you had a place where you could learn from other people ways to take joy, that dopamine release, that excitement, and turn it into something productive? Well, that's going to be the whole focus of our time together. Our whole focus is going to be how can we make every single day a little more productive and a little more joyful. So let me talk through what that might look like. I have a formula, as I mentioned, and you can actually see it if you're looking at this online. In my book behind me, I wrote a book called Learning Can Stick: How to Make Every Interaction Safe, Logical, Fun, and Memorable. And the idea behind the book is that for those 24 years that I've been an educator, I've been doing some research. And the research has been unequivocally proven that if you make every interaction with others safe, logical, fun, and memorable, people will not only choose to listen to you, but they'll stick around, they'll come back for more, and they'll remember what you said. So let's talk through what that means. Safe. Safe does not mean that you're not going to trip over something in the middle of the street. Safe means psychological safety. Do you make sure that the people that are with you, whether they're having a conversation with you that's short term or long term, do they know that they can ask questions? Do they know that they can make mistakes? Do they know that they don't have to have all the answers and that's okay? If they don't know those things, are you letting them know those things? Safe means simple things like learning people's names or making sure that you know that they have a dog and that the dog is getting ready to have puppies, or that they're really afraid of public speaking, so don't ask them to do that. When you know people and you make them feel safe in your presence, then they can trust you and they can learn from you. And when I say learning, I'm not talking about just your traditional classroom teaching. I'm actually talking about every interaction you have with people. You don't want people to spend time with you and then forget everything you said. You want people to absorb the information that you have for them, whether it's a CEO having a conversation with the people who work on their team, or it's a parent who's trying to talk to their teenager about something that they're doing that's not acceptable. Whatever it is, whatever conversation you're having, you have to first make it safe. Then you have to make it logical. Oh my goodness. Okay, so logical means that you have a plan, that you stick to the plan, but you're not the only person who knows the plan. If you are the only one who knows what your expectations are, you're also the only one working towards meeting them. So if you're conducting a meeting, the meeting's going to last 45 minutes. It's going to include this and this, and you let other people know what those things are. You don't use the element of surprise as a gotcha. Instead, you are logical with what you are asking people to do. So, safe, logical, fun. You have to release dopamine, right? We just talked about that. If you are not evoking emotion in people, they will check out on you. So fun is important, but fun does not look the same for everyone. So you will learn about me that I am 100% extrovert. I love people. I want to talk to people. I want to be with people. So if you tell me that we're having a happy hour at the end of the day, I'm all in. But I have colleagues that would say, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. That's not fun. That's torture. I want to go back to my room and relax. So understanding that fun doesn't mean the same thing to everyone means that you are paying attention to the needs of your people. Now, there are 3 things that are fun for everyone, and this is really where we're going to spend the bulk of our time in productive joy. So the 3 things are people feel valued and appreciated, that they know they have a voice and that they're allowed to use it, and that their talents are recognized by being able to contribute to the greater good. So valued and appreciated. Say thank you. Appreciate your people. Tell them that you noticed that they worked really hard on that project and say thanks. The having a voice and actually listening, you can't just say, okay, I want your input, but then never actually use it. You need to have a system where you can get people's input and then actually show them that you mean that you're listening by using that input. And then the last one, if you don't know your people, then you can't leverage their talent and they don't feel like they're contributing to the greater good. If I'm really good at spreadsheets and you ask me to answer the phone, that's going to make me miserable at work. Why would you do that? So instead, know your people and make sure that they're able to contribute in the way that they were designed to contribute. And then last but not least, you have to make it memorable. So what do I mean by memorable? Memorable means that you don't just pull the one and done, right? You say something once and you expect them to remember it. Hey, I told you that on September 17th. Why don't you remember? People don't work that way. People need to be reminded. And so to be memorable, the best thing that you can do is sprinkle, splash, flood, drip information. So sprinkle, splash, this is like the preview to a movie. This is what you would share with somebody before the big meeting. Hey, we're going to meet on Tuesday, and here are the 3 things that we're going to talk about. The sprinkle splash is, I live in Florida where it rains really hard and it means it, but there's almost always these big fat drops that should hit your windshield to warn you to take cover. So that sprinkle splash, that preview, is telling people here's what you can expect. And then there's the flood. The flood is the torrential rain. It is the meeting, the training, the experience where you are giving people all the information that they need. Well, that's great. But the problem with a flood is most of that water, most of that information is lost in runoff. So you must drip, drip afterwards. That's what falls off the trees to actually nourish the ground. The drip is the follow-up email. It's the phone call a week later that says, hey, we met last week. How did it go? And what do you need from me in order to be successful? It's recognizing that you can't be a one and done. So if you make every interaction safe, logical, fun, and memorable, then people will stick around, right? That's what I do. I go into organizations and I help them figure out how to transform their presentations into safe, logical, fun, and memorable. I help them figure out what their personalities are and how they can leverage those personalities to do great things. These are all things that I do, but this isn't going to be about me. The Productive Joy podcast is going to be about bringing in people who are crushing it at life, whether it's personally or professionally, and they have figured out how to create joy in their space, and they are going to help give you some new tools in your tool belt to do the same. Though I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I am surrounded by some really brilliant people who have some great answers to big questions. So during Productive Joy, what we're going to do is get some of those questions answered in a safe, logical, fun, and memorable way. I hope that means that it sounds like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to be a part of this podcast. And every week is going to look a little different, and each week is going to have an opportunity for you to fill those tools in your tool belt. But here's the part that you need to remember. You have to try things 18 times in front of somebody else in order to master them. So it's not okay for you to say, you know what, I tried that on a Tuesday. It didn't work. I'll never do it again. You've got 17 more tries before you can say, yeah, that's not for me. So we're going to be practical. We're going to be thoughtful and we're going to be full of joy during our productive joy time together. If this sounds like something you want, please subscribe and let's make this the kind of journey that you can't wait to go on.